In the remote, rugged north, solar and wind power now dominates vast landscapes. In the industrious south, automation is reshaping factories and supply chains. And megacities like Chongqing have become the stuff of influencers' feeds. Billions in state funding have transformed Chongqing, a gritty manufacturing hub deep in the southwest, into a powerhouse symbol of a changing China that is embracing new technology, new trade, and a new adjective. Trendy as it tries to show the world a friendlier face. Back in 2017, China was trying to prove it was on an equal footing to the US, says Ali Ryan, senior research and advocacy advisor for US-China relations at International Crisis Group. Unquote. I think the Chinese delegation understandably expended an enormous amount of diplomatic effort trying to convey the impression that President Xi was President Trump's geopolitical equal. What I find striking is that this time around, that assertion is not necessary on the part of Chinese. Washington now acknowledges China as a near peer, says Wine, who describes Beijing as arguably the most powerful competitor that the United States has confronted in its history. America first versus China's long game. Trump, in turn, may well be the most mercurial foreign leader China has ever encountered. He even has a nickname here, Chuan Jiango, which means Trump the nation builder. Online, many Chinese believe that his divisive policies and trade wars have helped China's rise by weakening America's global standing. Unquote. He does not care about the consequences at all, says a middle-aged man on holiday in Chongqing. He should know that we share the same world. It is a global village. He should not always put America first. He says he does not want to share his name as he stands among the crowds, cramming into vintage points for a view of Chongqing's neon lit stacked skyline. Male and female tourists take pictures of Chongqing's neon lit skyscrapers against a nighttime sky. Tourists trying for a photo of Chongqing's Getty Images. Tourists gather along the riverside promenade near the illuminated Qianximen Bridge, with Hongya Cave and the modern skyscraper skyline of Chongqing's central business district in front of them. Getty Images, a famed skyline that has earned the city the name cyberpunk capital. Well, China has been making a forward-looking strategies for decades, he adds, as the world's cyberpunk capital lights up behind him at dusk. Chongqing has been carved out of the mountains because builders had nowhere to go but up. The roads climb and twist around steep hillsides while the subway tunnels underneath, and then through layers of buildings, everything overlaps to create what travel journalists have dubbed China's 8D city. Interesting, isn't it? Just like the tourists perched above, visitors in the boats below try to get the ultimate snap, the vertical landscape looming over the Yangtze River in shades of electric blue, magenta, and red. This is a city that offers a window into Beijing's bid to rival American power in more ways than one. China has been sharpening its soft power and offering overseas tourists visa-free entry. Around 2 million of them put Chongqing on their must-see list last year alongside Beijing and Shanghai. But you see, Chongqing's spectacular growth has a price tag. Building it has involved one of the largest sustained urban construction efforts in modern history, and the local government, with a population of over 30 million people, is now heavily in debt. A sluggish economy and a struggling property sector are not helping. Beyond the city's futuristic skyline are older neighborhoods where workers sort packages or sell fruit and vegetables in the hope of making a few dollars a day. Trump's tariffs and now the US-Israeli war in Iran are pushing on pressure points in the Chinese economy as house price fall, unemployment rises, and low consumption persists. Well, through all this, the Chinese Communist Party's authoritarian grip has remained very firm. Many Chinese people are hesitant to talk politics, although they have a message for Trump. They do not want to share their names. A worker pulling a cart in Chongqing. Chongqing still has many workers struggling to earn a living. Still, some young people see the US as a beacon of freedom and opportunity. Let's go through this quote now. When I think about the US, I think about its liberty and people there can find their personality and discover their potential. This is said by one of the fashion students on holiday with her friend. Another quote. It's a country full of creativity and wisdom, and many Chinese young people would like to receive an education there. That has become a more uncertain dream. Why? Because of strained ties between the two superpowers in the recent years. But it has also led to the Chinese engineers feeling innovation at home. Well, the race from robots to EVs in a two-story flagship laboratory is one of the many new business hubs in Chongqing. A group of kindergarten children crackle with delight as they watch a robot fish swim around the tank. Other humanoid robots come to life and show off their kung fu or funky dance moves. The children are eager to show off to the BBC cameras, and the teacher helps them practice their English by making them repeat in unison. This robot can dance. You see, China already has the largest number of industrial robots in its factories, and the state plans to invest around $400 billion in robotics this year alone. Chongqing, which finds itself at the heart of this investment, aims to become the Silicon Valley of Western China. But here and across the country, Chinese robotics may need American help. Robots need a fast working brain, and that's why China is keen to buy more high end AI chips from the US firm NVIDIA. This could be a sticking point in this week's meeting. You see, in 2022, the Biden administration tried to arrest Chinese AI and robotics by denying it cutting-edge semiconductors. President Trump has relaxed that policy. Well, last year, he cleared the way for NVIDIA to begin selling some of its advanced chips to China, but not the most advanced ones. As China and the US fight for technological supremacy, analysts believe there is a bigger concern at hand with the rise of AI. Some fear that one bad actor with a laptop in a bunker anywhere could hack health services or find nuclear launch codes and argue that this is a moment for both the leaders to think about the greater good rather than the great power competition. Well, children laugh as they watch the robots perform. China has the largest number of industrial robots in its factories. Competition will certainly dictate the agenda. China has already been doing it all to ensure it does not rely on the US as its main trade partner. China's exports to the US have fallen by around 20% in the last few years, and America is now China's third largest trade partner behind Southeast Asia and the European Union. The pageantry of Trump's last visit did not prevent the US from imposing huge tariffs on Chinese goods, and Beijing learned its lesson. When Trump became the presidential frontrunner in 2024, Chinese officials got to work. They sat in on think tank meetings in Washington as once again they heard him warn that he would rein in what he saw as unfair Chinese trade practices. When the tariffs landed last year, China was the only country that did not back down. Whether the fragile trade truce will hold or lead to a more substantive deal is the big question for this week, but the last year has certainly emboldened Beijing. We don't rely on the US market, says Lucia Chen, who sells electric cars for Sahiyu, a firm in Chongqing, which is a key city in this push for self-reliance. Chongqing leads the country in car manufacturing, underpinning China's position as the world's largest car maker. Xi calls for direct rail links from here through Central Asia to Europe, which cost around $5 billion, and Chen finds this rail link useful to sell more goods to clients. I'm quite optimistic about the future development of Chongqing's EV industry, she says on a tour of the factory. Unquote. My family and friends have all made the switch from fuel cars to EV. Because of the Iran war, petrol prices have risen a lot, and many buyers are considering an EV for the first time. Well, even as the crisis in the Middle East drags on, Trump is coming to China partly to try to end the war. He will hope for China's help to broker a deal with its friend Tehran, yet another sign of Beijing's now pivotal role on the world stage. The US president likes to boast that he has a good relationship with Xi, and he may feel he can negotiate with China's leader. Of course, he will also want something tangible from this summit. And if he comes to Beijing and is able to walk away saying that he convinced the Chinese to buy more American goods, he may see that as a win-win situation. Well, coming to a glimpse of the future. You don't want to know that? You do certainly. For China, the win may lie in a smooth, well-choreographed state visit. A trade deal would be a huge relief, but even without that, a US presidential visit after nearly a decade burnishes Xi's message that China is open for business and to the world. I feel China is getting more and more connected to the world, more integrated with the international community, says a photographer in Chongqing. It was very difficult for me to see people with blonde hair like you in the past, but now I meet lots of foreigners. We are like one family. Well, that's another one. He is one of many catering to strange local economy that has sprung up here. On the side of the river across from where a local train enters one of the residential towers, a row of visitors stands with their mouths open. Visitors standing with their mouths open so it looks like they are eating the train. A woman doing the pose is also wielding an open white, red, and black fan. The Chongqing train eating trend in action. One woman is shouting instructions to her husband to get the shot right as the train starts coming. She chews as if she's finished a delicious meal. It seems a ridiculous trend, but Chongqing's train eating is certainly viral. A man well over 70 jokes that taking part in this social media spectacle is helping him become younger at heart. Well, this is China Xi wants the world to see more of as he tries to portray himself as a beacon of stability, in contrast to an unpredictable Trump. Since Trump has come to power, the world order has shifted remarkably, strengthening Beijing's hand. His America First approach has seen allies and rivals reeling from offgoing tariffs, while Beijing rolled out the red carpet for a parade of political leaders from the West, including the UK, Canada, and Germany. Well, of course, this is far from the whole picture. There is also pervasive surveillance, strict state control over all media, and any kind of dissent or criticism against the government or the country's leaders is not tolerated. But in Chongqing, many visitors see what may look like a cinematic scene from the future.